doing? What I wanted to do first, since we are talking to some people in another country and continent, is have them talk first. So this is Ibrahim on the top and Djibril at the bottom. So we met you all, the community met you all earlier this year, I think, for Black History Month. So you all can decide who talks first. Oh, all right, which one of y'all gonna talk first? Whoever wants to talk first, and go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell them to speak English. We need them to speak English. Talking Bambara to us. Oh, yeah, okay.
The sisters always coming.
Always coming through.
I don't really know where the sound is coming out from. The back, the front.
All right, so y'all can just talk. One of you. It might have a volume on it. Is it a volume on it?
It should be a volume on the top or the side. I think on the projector.
I'm scared to mess with this.
It's going to be actually a projector. I don't know how to use it.
All right, Djibril. Come on, man. Speak English, man. Djibril. We got people here listening, waiting to talk to you. Djibril, where are you right now? Djibril. Ask him where he is.
We're ready to do the presentation. Everybody is watching y'all. So we need y'all to speak to us in English. That's fine. So far, so good. Okay.
So far, so good, yeah.
Yeah, let me let y'all see the room. Y'all see everybody? See, we waiting for y'all. You see that?
Yeah, I see. Wow.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Good afternoon.
You say good afternoon, y'all. Good afternoon.
How are you? So far, so good.
That's where he is.
So introduce yourselves and let us know what you do in Mali and how we came to meet y'all, and then we'll talk about what we did in Mali with all of y'all, and how y'all took us around and showed us the world and just made Mali feel like an extension of home. So that's what Ismael wants y'all to do first. He wants y'all to introduce yourselves, okay?
Okay.
Okay. Y'all ready? Go ahead. You can get started, Djibril. Either you or Ibrahim. Either one of y'all can start first. Whoever wants to start first, y'all can start. Who want to go first?
Ibrahim?
Oh, all right, Ibrahim, you go first. You said you got to go first.
Yeah, go on, brother.
Wa alaikum salam.
Keep going. And what did y'all do? What was our trip like? Why did we come to Mali? What did y'all expose us to? What was your role in our experience in Mali?
I was in the team, the part of the organization, the ship, so Ismael, brother Karim, here, and the vendor. So we will visit and Timbuktu, this, country, and Djenne, and Seby, and then the farm, the Segou.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum, everybody.
Wa alaikum salam.
So I'm very happy to see our family in Virginia. Yeah, so Mali in Virginia is the same family. So we are very, very happy to see everybody together today. So well, our trip in Mali was amazing.
Yeah.
So we do 2 weeks with Imam Ismael, Vincent, Brother Karim, and Zakiyyah. So the beginning of our trip was not easy. With the trip to Timbuktu with the airplane, the time they give us, and before the time they leave. And after that, we changed the program to travel to Mopti. And after Mopti, we meet the government department. After we went to Djenne to see the different community in Djenne, also the imam of the big mosque of Djenne, the mayor, also the representative of the government in Djenne. So we were talking about how to build the twin sisters between Djenne and Virginia. And all Djenne people, like 23,000 people, they was appreciate about our trip there. And they said they are always happy to see you back to your ancestral hometown.
Y'all can get that round of applause. And what y'all might be noticing about both of them is that they look different in their attire. And the reason why they look different in their attire is because both of them are from Mali, but they represent different ethnic groups. So in the white turban is Ibrahim, and he's Bambara. And in the blue, the indigo outfit is Djibril, and he's Dogon. And the Dogon people are famous in history because they were the ones who told us everything that we needed to know about constellations before we even had telescopes. So they have an exceptional history. And the Bambara people, that's one of the most popular languages that's spoken in Mali. And what what Djibril was talking about earlier, he said that we had a hiccup when we first got there because initially when we arrived in Mali, we were supposed to go to Timbuktu when we arrived. However, you have to be flexible when you get to the continent because things don't always go as planned. But eventually we did make it into Timbuktu, and we made it into Timbuktu at the time that we were supposed to go there. We did go the first week, but we made it in the time that we were supposed to be there, not the first day that we initially set out to go. And so we only made it because we had Ibrahim and we had Djibril. What I'm saying is that the arrangements, though. So when you heard them say that they arranged the programs, the program means
What's his name?
Papa, right? But in order to to organize the trip to Timbuktu. So initially we were supposed to be there on that Monday when we got there, but we wound up going on that Friday. But they organized the trip for us. So yeah, y'all can catch up.
So ask Djibril where he is right now.
So Djibril, where are you right now?
Right now I'm in a restaurant, Barbecue restaurant, where we came, I think you came at twice.
Which restaurant?
Barbecue restaurant, the other side
The one we
of
went
the
to.
Niger River.
The one we went to, the Niger River.
Okay. So the Niger River is one of the major rivers that connects Mali to the rest of the world and to all of the other civilizations, which is why Mali was a center of trade because of the Niger River.
And we got on the Niger River. We got on the boat to go on the...
Yeah, we did. We got on the Niger River. We were hoping to see some the hippopotamus, the hippos, but we didn't. But Mali is a huge country. And before it was called Mali, it was known as the Sudan. That whole region was known as the Sudan. But Mali is a huge country in West Africa. Some of it borders Northwest Africa, but 8 different African countries border Mali, just to give y'all an idea of how big the space is, the land is.
Yes, the meaning of Mali is a Igbo.
Oh.
Mali in the local language means Igbo. And the name of our capital is Bamba. Bamba means crocodile. Crocodile, Bamako. Yeah. So as Zakiyyah was talking about Niger River, its origin coming from Djenne.
Okay.
So Niger River is a 4,187 kilometers, crossing by 5 countries.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, when anybody wants to go to Mali or anywhere in Western Africa, who they talking to?
Sorry?
If they want to go to anywhere in Western Africa or Mali or Timbuktu, who do they need to talk to?
So when the plans to come to Mali are highly welcome.
Who's going to take care of them?
Y'all gonna take care of everybody, right? With your tourism company. Everybody you need to book. Everybody you need to book Djibril.
I will. The door is always open for all our community.
And y'all probably know this is a 5-hour difference. So right here is 1 o'clock or 1:30. It's 6:30 over there.
Yes, Ibrahim is in the darkness.
Yeah. so the light is fading. And the only reason why we can see Djibril because he's in a restaurant. So the light is fading over there right now. So we gotta talk fast. And if y'all have any questions, y'all can ask those questions. We were only able to go as far north as Timbuktu because as we all know, there is a little bit of instability that's still happening in Mali. But we were thankful because we were able to get into Timbuktu because there have been times when we haven't been able to get inside of Timbuktu, which is important. And you heard him mention Djenne. Djenne is actually one of the cities that's older than Timbuktu. So Djenne is the 8th century city, right, Djibril? Because Djibril is the genius.
Yeah.
So Djenne is the 8th century city. It's older than Timbuktu. So that means that it was built in the 900s. So we went to the Grand Mosque of Djenne. We were able to talk to the mayor of Djenne. We were able to go through the town of Djenne and learn that the buildings, the way that they constructed the buildings in Djenne told you exactly about the family. So if they had boys in the house, then they made the construction to denote that there were boys in the house. If they had daughters in the house, they built the construction to let you know that they had daughters. And they also told you that it was a mama and a daddy in the house. So the family structure and unit is embedded inside of all of the buildings that you see. So it's not just something that people talk about, it's actually something that they show off.
Wow. What is one of the examples of indicating that it's women in the building?
I have my computer and I'm going to show you some pictures so that you can see with your own eyes what tells you that there's a male and female.
It's definitely a symbol they use representing men and women that you'll be able to recognize.
And there's obvious symbols, you know, so that you know that it's male, you know that it's female, but the fact that they actually embedded it in the house is important. Oh, do y'all have any more? But everybody, we want to say something before we lose you to the doctor?
So the hippo wants you to come back here.
The hippo wanted to come back.
I visited school a few days ago in Segou.
Oh, he
Why they rebuilding the school? Yeah.
So Djibril, he built the school, and unfortunately, the rainy season created a lot of the water, a lot of flooding. And so the school was impacted by the flooding because they had never had as much rain as they've had this rainy season. But the school is phenomenal. It's on an island. You have to take the boat to go across the Niger River, and Djibril is definitely a community person. So he is definitely entrenched in his community. Ibrahim is entrenched in his community, which is it borders Burkina Faso. So Burkina Faso is another African country, but his village sits on the border of Mali. So he does a lot of work with his community in Burkina Faso because that's where his parents are from. Okay.
All right, the last thing I'm going to ask Djibril is what nations do you have expertise in?
Say it again.
What nations does he have expertise in?
So, Djibril, we want to know what other West African nations are you an expert on?
You mean which country I explored?
Yes.
Mali, Senegal, Gambia, Guinea-Bissau, Sierra Leone, Liberia, Ivory Coast, Togo, Benin, Ghana, yeah.
So y'all want to go to
Any of those countries that he talked to?
So you want to go to any of those countries, he can get you to those countries and get you access to places that most people can't even get access to.
And he knows the history to all of those different nations. And the cities that we went to were Mopti, Seby, Segou, Bamako, Timbuktu, and Djenne.
Segou.
Right, so Segou, like, so he knows like the history of all these different cities, and they reverence the kings and rulers that came previously, and he knows and can tell you about each of them. So it's a really educational experience when you go on there with them.
And you keep hearing Ismael talking about Seby. That was one of the first cities that we went to. In Seby, you have the Kamajan Ark. And in Kamajan is where they wrote the first constitution. So a lot of people think that it's the first constitution that was ever written, period, on earth by a civilization. And that constitution was written in 1236, right, Djibril?
Yeah, 1236.
And so it's a natural art that was formed. So it's a historic site, and it's a UNESCO World Heritage Site also. So you can go there, you can see this natural rock formation, which is amazing, and you get to learn about the culture and how all of these people in the city actually descended in this community from the Kamajan people, where they wrote the Constitution and incorporated all of the people from the Sudiata people, the descendants of Sudiata, who was the first master of the Malian Empire. So we learned all of that stuff from Djibril.
Yeah, we had a picture. We were inside of the art.
So we learned that from Djibril and Ibrahim. We went to the art. We actually traveled.
Went up a mountain.
Up the mountain. We went in the cave where they did the Constitution and everything. And then they reenacted how the men were sitting around when they wrote the Constitution.
Individually after this. So we can.
Sujata is from Mansa Musa.
They just had a question. Somebody said, how do y'all feel about Mansa Musa? My mom said, how do y'all feel about Mansa Musa? So we went to the gold mine. Oh, they also want to know, Djibril, they also want to know, how do y'all feel about Mansa Musa and how did he treat enslaved people in Mali?
So well, Mansa Musa, some people are very happy what he was doing during that time. Some people also they are sad why he bring all of the gold. Why he bring all the gold to share like this? A lot of people say those gold can be used for many things now, but you know, as in Mali we have a lot of gold, we have resources, a lot of gold. As we visit, even the gold mining, everywhere is gold mining in Mali.
And we went to a gold mine.
Brother Karim dug in a gold mine hole. You bought some back? Nope. We know they gonna tell you.
You remember the local guy saw us some mining who there was dating during Masa Musa time. So all of those places, the gold here export to Mecca, to around the world. Some parts of the gold are coming from there. You've already been to this place.
And I was going to say, one of the things about Mansa Musa is that he is definitely highly revered by the Malian people. And one of the things about Mansa Musa is that they had a lot of wealth. He was the richest person to ever live on the planet. But the way that the Malian Empire and the way that they made money, it wasn't through the gold, it wasn't through the salt exportation, it wasn't through any of those things. It was through the exportation of knowledge and books. So when you go to places like Timbuktu, you see a lot of families who are responsible for the transcripts. And the manuscripts. So those families own those manuscripts. They date back to centuries ago, and it was important for them to be able to keep the record of what was happening in Mali. And Mansa Musa appreciated that. So we went to the mosque in Djenne that Mansa Musa built. We just were all over Mansa Musa land, walking on the same soil and getting the gold dust glitter on our feet. That Mansa Musa established. And it's one thing when you read about him, but it's another thing when you have been studying it as a teacher, when you've been researching it like Vincent has been doing for the past 10 years, and to be able to walk in his space and say, you know what, I can't believe that I'm actually here. So Vincent, you want to say something?
So we're going to do this. We're going to let them in, and then we'll just sit up here and then talk about it individually.
Okay.
All right?
So I think we're about to let y'all go, Djibril and Ibrahim. Do y'all want to make some closing remarks? Because
So well, Masa Musa, he do a lot of good things, as you say. We cannot talk about all. So what will be good to find solution to make a documentary to make something about the world will know about him. Because even in Mali there is a people they don't know well about the history of Masa Musa.
All right, y'all getting the party words and
So any closing remarks, Djibril and Ibrahim? One last thing that y'all want to say before we log off?
Okay, so my last thing is I greet everybody. Then I'm very happy to see all the communities together this afternoon. So, and I hope to meet everyone in the future, inshallah. Inshallah. Like my big brother always says, inshallah.
Ibrahim, what you want to say? Any closing remarks? Everybody want to hear your voice one last time.
Happy to meet everybody. So the next time to meet the people, inshallah, to be together and take their sport together, inshallah, one day.
All right.
y'all can come up here.
Bye-bye.
Everybody say, so far so good.
So far so good. All right, go lady. So we're going to talk about our individual. Oh, we can turn this off again. Individual experiences. Y'all can come up and join me, please. Kassogue, is that the phone? Is that showing everybody?
Yes, it does.
All right. Let's start down there then. I talk all the time. Let me tell you, this is the only thing I'm going to say is that y'all saw Ibrahim. Ibrahim is a man of few words, reminded me of brother Karim. Like, so when they talk, they mean what they say, right? So you listen to what they say. He doesn't say a lot of words, but he definitely steers you in the direction you need to go. And Sister Zakiyyah can attest to it. All of us can. He protected us in a lot of ways, more than we really knew, because we don't know the language. So he was helping, protecting, and steering us in the right direction. And like I said, the man is a man of few words, but when he talks, everyone listens. So if you want to, actually, this is what I think we should do. He should start. This is the reason why. Is because I didn't know anything about Timbuktu, to be honest with you. I can say this now because I know a little bit about it, but I can say maybe 10 years ago, I thought Timbuktu was not a real place. I thought it was a place that they say we're going to beat you all the way to Timbuktu. And then I started getting some knowledge on it about Mansa Musa once Mansa Musa became more popular. But even now, when you say Timbuktu or Mansa Musa, there's a ton of people that don't know. So I was trying to do my ancestry DNA to find out where I was from so I could figure out a place I wanted to go to Africa. And unfortunately, that fell through. I didn't find out where I was from, but Imam Ali Salam, his son is best friends with Vincent. And they were having a centennial celebration for the library that he's the manager of, Blyden Library. And Imam Ali Salam said, why don't you help with that centennial celebration since you're in Norfolk and I'm in Chesapeake? So he gave me this guy's phone number. So I said, yeah, of course I'll help with the celebration. He said, well, I just went to Africa. I'm going back. I'm like, cool. I want to go to Africa, right? So this guy tells me 2 months after that, I'm going in another 2 months. I never met him before. You understand what I'm saying? I didn't really know him. And I was like, this is an opportunity that Allah is clearly setting for me. I'm going to go. I said I was going to go. He really kind of called my bluff because I said, I'm going. I said, next time you go, you let me know I'm going. A couple months later, he was like, I'm going in 2 months. I'm like, okay. So we went there the first year, which was last year, and I wasn't able to make it to, we weren't able to make it to Timbuktu. But this year we were. So I said all that to say, this guy went to university, he went to the library, he did all the study and research to make all of these things come true. If I didn't meet him, I would have never been in Mali. I would still know Timbuktu was real, but I wouldn't know anything that I know about it now.
So we got to give it up for Vincent.
So maybe you want to use the microphone? Is the microphone too much now?
I think you want me to use the microphone? Okay. I want to first start off by saying thank you for having me here. It's an honor to be here and to have my voice heard. I started on this 10 years ago. I graduated out of Virginia Wesleyan, and I was really just looking for something to do that gives me meaning. And I know books saved my life. Being able to read, literacy is a gift, and especially when you realize the extent that other people went to prevent people of color, particularly African Americans, from reading. So if someone is willing to make laws that they are willing to pay to enforce to prevent you from reading, I mean, you need to do it times 3. So just digging, learning about the power of books. You know, we get all our information from books. We get our religious code from books. We get our laws from books. We get our ability to know each other's names through books. And I was like, well, I want to see what Africa's contribution to books were. And lo and behold, Africa was the ones that were producing them. So I was like, okay, I'm going to dig deeper and really trying to, like I said, find myself and understand where books are important at and where the majority of African Americans may have come from. I learned about Mali, Mansa Musa, and I was like, this would be an excellent way of inspiring literacy within our culture because, unfortunately, particularly for the men, literacy is not taken as seriously. Now, I give it to you women, y'all game with it, but unfortunately for men, we have to catch up, and I know sometimes it takes inspiration to get there. So I was like, well, let me go ahead and do the proper steps to get the respect I need when trying to preach it, because you know, this in the age of the internet, everybody has a voice. I don't think they should probably use it if they don't know what they're talking about. But I was like, well, let me go to school, And then you have to, I'm a librarian, so you have to go to school to become a librarian. And I went and got my master's degree after I got out of the military. I only went into the military so I could get the resources to get to grad school. And I was like, okay, now I'm about to graduate from library school. What's next? I've been doing the contacts, learning how to do research, and I was like, I found this gentleman, Youssef, who lived in Timbuktu, and what did I do? I realized that the British Library and a few other institutions, predominantly European institutions, were very interested in our literature. So I was like, I need to be interested in our literature too. And I went through their pages and I wanted to find the connections that they had. I found Youssef, and I hit him up on Facebook, and he was like, yeah, I'd be more than glad to meet you.
Let me say something real quick. Yusuf is the one that was racing in Timbuktu, and he beat me. That was who Yusuf is. All right, just so you all know. Go ahead.
So, you know, I knew what Mali was going through at the time. I knew about colonialization. This is a combination of knowledge. And I was like, I don't want to just take. A lot of people know how to take, but they don't know how to exchange and how to give back. So I was like, Youssef, I know you're struggling. Teach me the language, and I'll pay you at the beginning of each month. I was doing that. A brother was helping me out, and I was helping a brother out, as it should be. And COVID had hit. Trump was over here going off the chains. I thought the world was coming to an end. I said, why not? So I was in Pittsburgh. I got on a plane, and I rode out to Mali. When I got to Mali, it was in the middle of the night. And I got off that plane, and I was like, I think I messed up. And Malayans are very hospitable. Like, you think we have Southern hospitality, and their hospitality is just top notch. And like, I get off the plane, he was like, let me take your bag. He started going outside. I said, I really think I messed up. And Youssef had messaged me, and he was just like, I'm still trying to get to Bamako because Timbuktu from Bamako is about as far as probably Norfolk is from Atlanta. And their infrastructure, it's I highly encourage everyone going, because you learn a lot about life, and it puts things into perspective. So while you're learning about your culture, you learn about the history, you learn about the richness, and appreciating it, because it's filling a hole that many of us have from not really knowing our history past coming to America. You realize that we put in work in America, and that work turned into good roads and police patrols on those roads and clean water. So he was trying to get to us, and the roads weren't great, and it was like 3 days before he can get to me. So I'm in Bamako by myself, and I meet Ibrahim. And Ibrahim at the time was the only person that really knew how to speak English, and he was like, okay, I'll look out for you. And I had to think on my feet, so I had to hit a price line and get a hotel on discount. So I got like a 3-star hotel for like 4 days at $90. And that was my first trip. I didn't really leave out the city. I was just really kind of taking it in, like, I'm here, I'm seeing blackness everywhere. Everywhere. I was in love with it. Not once did I ever feel unsafe. All right, came back. Graduated, moved back here, went to the Blyden Library. I've been the manager there for the past 2 years. They asked me to put together this presentation, and like I said, I've learned about books. I learned history, I studied history. One of the things I realized is, I'm a Christian man, but one of the things I realized is, one of the things that held us back was our tribalism within ourselves. Christians just stand with the Christians, the Muslims just go with the Muslims, that divide between Malcolm X and Martin Luther King. And I was like, I'm not going to be that type of person. If I'm going to celebrate blackness, I'm going to celebrate blackness in its full form. Muslim, Christian, man, woman. And I was like, well, my best friend is Muslim, and I was like, well, let me hit him up, hit his dad up, and see if I can get someone to come help me for the centennial. And that's how I got in contact with Ismael. So, like Ismael said, I was like, yeah, I'm going back here. Ismael was like, yo, can I go with him? And I did. I was trying to call his bluff. I was like, you. And I was like, I got the ticket. I was like, what you gonna do? And he was like, I'm going. I said, okay. And, you know, I'm one of those type of people that if someone is with me, then that person is like my responsibility. Like this is a whole family man and the head of a community. And I was like, something happened to him, I definitely can't go back and know. So we get out there, and this is my second time. This is his first time. Ibrahim met me at the airport. Met both of us at the airport, and because he worked at the airport, and when you do things out of kindness, that seed that you sow is serious. And I have been helping Ismael, I've been helping Ibrahim, and I have been helping Yusuf out of the kindness of my heart, because I knew what they were going through. And Ibrahim needed a card needed to purchase a card to get into the airport to like do better with his little small independent business. And I was like, well, shoot, you know, at that time it was like we was getting unemployment for the COVID. So I was like, all right, I'll send you the money so you can get your card. Well, he got the card, and then when Ismael and I got out there, he picked us right up out the line. We didn't have to stand in line for nothing, and the TSA, none of that. So we get out there, and this time Ismael and I travel outside of the city. I got to tell it, Ismael. I got to tell it. Ismael had a friend that he knew out there, because, you know, all the imams know each other. And he disappeared on me for 2 hours. I thought I was going to have a heart attack. I was stressed. I was like, oh my God, I can't go back now for real. But when he came back, he met his friend, he came back, and we really like made those connections. And it was important for me to get out there because first, I was a Christian man in a predominantly Muslim nation, and I still moved around freely. Now, he was the real test, like, how are you going to react? How are they going to treat you while you're out there? And they treated him with more respect than they treated me. So I was just like, okay, cool, you know, he can go back and he can tell the story better than I can tell you. So Ismael was like, oh, we got to get more people out here. Yes, yes.
So let me add one other thing though too, is when we went there initially, we were trying to go to Timbuktu. And we went to the embassy in Bamako, and they said, what you doing here? You can't be out here. We was like, we've been here for like a week. What you mean? Like, we've been chilling out here, right? And they said, you shouldn't go to Timbuktu. So Vincent said, I will still go. But he said, you're with me. You have a family. You got a community. I don't want to risk it. So we didn't go. So what we did, because we were going to stay in Timbuktu for the full 2 weeks. So what we had to do was kind of make a makeshift plan of what we're going to do. So we got connected to Djibril, and Djibril said, okay, I know everything about Mali. We're going to go to this place and this place and this. And we went all over the place. And we went, like the hotel he was talking about, we went to different hotels in different places. And I'm like enamored at this time. Like I was actually glad we didn't make it to Timbuktu because I would have saw far less. So this time, I was living through them really. Because I had already done most of the things they had done except for Timbuktu. So our intention was Timbuktu, but we never made it. And we made it to all these other places and so much rich history. And then there's an imam that's he talking about that I know. And I just want to see him, you know. He's a very knowledgeable person, but he was worried to death because I didn't tell him where I was. And he's like, if something happened to you, I can't come back to your community and tell them that he's lost and I left him in Mali. So that was one thing that happened. But I knew then, though, when I came back this time, that they would be my responsibility. So when I told the community that I was going back, alhamdulillah, it's this brother named Karim Azeez here who heard me say this. And I just said, I'm going to be going for a couple of weeks, so I got to line up some imams to give the khutbahs. I had no idea that he, of course, was listening like, what you mean? I'll go, right? So being the person he is, and I'm like, that's an excellent idea. I can't believe I didn't think of it, but I mean, I can't speak for someone else. So we're out here after Juma, maybe like 4 or 5 weeks, maybe no, couple months ago, and he says, well, why don't you ask Zakiyyah? Because the other thing I didn't mention is Zakiyyah was mad at me last time because I tried to go to Timbuktu and didn't tell her that she has a company called Rebuilding Timbuktu. So he had this great idea for not just him to go, but her to go also. He said, listen, thanks, because there may be some information that's unnecessary, but he said, let she can go. So I told her that she should consider going, and when she went and we got there, man, it was, those two people are the perfect people to go with. Perfect. That's all I can say. Like, Allah planned this. I promise you. This man right here, first of all, they thought he was the Imam. They knew he was our leader, and he was from Mali, right? And he didn't speak. So, you know, the less you talk, the more people are like, this is a mystery guy. What is he talking? Why is he not eating? Why is he, like, they were asking all kinds of questions. And then Zakiyyah, the same as this guy, and Djibril know everything there is to know about Africa and Mali and Timbuktu. So I'm just like really living vicariously through them. So from that, I'm gonna pass it on to Brother Karim or Zakiyyah, whoever wanna talk about this.
Other than that's Assalamualaikum. Yeah, other than like I say what Ismael said, the idea of going, I just knew it would be something like a trip that would be once in a lifetime type of trip. So it was like, and I asked him, was it all right for somebody to go along? And he answered, he didn't see no reason why not. So at that point, everything was go. So going over there and visiting the different places that we did go, it was end up being just like a once in a lifetime type of a trip. The people accepted us real well, especially the kids when we would go through the different towns and the different villages that we went in. The kids, they just overtook us, and but like I say, going all the way to Timbuktu, they said that we was put under their protection over there, but after like a day or two, I mentioned to the group that was in, I said that they may say that they are protecting us. I said, but at this point, I'm starting to feel like I'm in hospital. Because they actually escorted us everywhere that we had to go for that week that we was there. They went to the mosque, they waited outside, where we went to the imam's house. They went there, waited outside. So everywhere that we went, when we was in Timbuktu, we was being escorted. We was
like celebrities. This was
well, that's what they were saying. And then that's what it was. I'm saying, but that's the way they would put it. Like we was the VIP. We was placed in the governor's mansion, and the gate locked. Like after night, when nobody was going and coming, the door was actually locked where we were. So that's why I'm saying. They said protection, but I say we was kidnapped.
Can I add to that? Yeah. One of the biggest things, the reason why I said that what I said about Ismael disappearing was because when Ismael said, "Oh, people are coming," I said, "Yes, now you get to see how I felt." And it wasn't so much that. It's one thing as men to travel. We do have that luxury of being men, and we can travel by ourselves without having to experience certain things that women have to. So when Ishmael was like, well, Zakiyyah was coming, I was like, well, that's wonderful because now that's going to be the real test. How, not necessarily a bad thing, because I knew when you go over there, you're very surprised by how liberal, compared to what they say in the news, you're surprised by how liberal the Malayan people are. There are women over there, Muslim women, who do have hair coverings, but then there's also black women over there who don't have hair covering. It's almost like you're here. It's you don't, it's mainly Muslims and opposite Christians, and there's still even Christian churches there. I think one of the biggest things that I was sincerely happy about was that even in Timbuktu, where, you know, these are world-renowned mosques, Zakiyyah was there operating like Miss Director, was operating just freely. It was definitely all throughout the country. You see the women like by themselves on their motorcycles, walking down the street with the machetes. Like you won't. That's not just necessarily women there. That's like, oh, you know, you got to have a man to escort you. Though they are very, very much capable of defending themselves, and it was very important for me to have a black woman go there and see it for herself, so she can tell her version of how it went. So
before you do that, because I don't think Zakiyyah is going to tell the real story about what happened with her. So I did want to add this, and what he said was definitely true about an African American woman or woman period going there. When I first went on Umrah, I went by myself because I was concerned about how my wife would be treated. So and then I realized it would be perfectly fine, so she can work with me the second time. So in this instance, it's something similar, and as Zakiyyah came, so you could see the dynamics, because generally speaking, when I go around as a man, there's some things I don't think about at all, right? But when she's there, then I have to think about the sisters and accommodations for sisters and how men are going to be treating them. When I first went there to Mali, though, the first day I was there, I was telling them, Vincent got sick the first day I was there. This was last year. And I was with Ibrahim. And we went out to this place I was telling you about, where they have the mud cloth workshop. And I was out there literally by myself with people I'd never seen before. And I thought, only Allah is protecting me, because even if I tried to fight my way through, I can't beat all these people, and I don't know where I'm going, right? So I ultimately said, that's when I realized that my iman increased. My belief and trust in Allah increased, because I had nobody else to trust, right? So in this instance, with her coming, and she may tell you the story, she may not tell it now just because the camera's on, but they treated this lady like royalty, literally. The thing with this trip also that I was a little bit concerned about was we had a lot of different, basically business things we had to do. We had to meet. We met almost everybody except the president. Like we met mayors and governors of all these different cities that we went to, and they was in love with Zakiyyah. Am I lying? Right? And I felt that her experience also would be good for African American Muslim women to hear. That there are countries, other places you can go to where you can be valued like you should. This khutbah I just gave was about imams. They treat imams like you're supposed to treat imams. And I mean, really, really do. So I was very, very happy for her. And I was very happy that she would be able to tell this story, and so much that she knows and put into Mali and Timbuktu, that she will be able to tell this story is something, like I said, this is clearly Allah's plan for this to transpire. Because I didn't think of it at all. In fact, the first time I went, I told her my plan was to go into Timbuktu and take a selfie. And that was it. I had no idea about manuscripts, about the importance of Timbuktu, until I talked to her. And then I was like, oh my goodness, I was able to make some copies of manuscripts. And I started realizing the importance of it and how families coveted these things and didn't give them to just anybody. And they gave us, me and Vincent, the opportunity to help maintain these manuscripts, to make sure that they are preserved for thousands of years to come. So it was so many things that was going on in doing that. Brother Karim and Sister Zakiyyah was a part of it, and everybody accepted them with open arms. So I want to say that before Zakiyyah, she might be too humble to tell y'all how they treat her, but they love that lady.
And to go on with what he was saying, for how they, I don't know if he catered to her or liked her or respect, but like you said, the respect, meaning they actually gave her, and not knowing she was coming, gifts. I mean, not one or two people. She was actually giving gifts.
She was prepared to run the whole caravan.
Yeah, well, yeah, and it was some.
Don't tell everything. Let her see what she gonna tell. Right?
Yeah, but yeah, it was like it was a trip of a lifetime. You know, it's you know, the person can't tell it. Zakiyyah took tons of pictures. I took some. I carried like a cameraman and had from Hamlin to develop, but pictures, and you just can't tell, you know, how, you know, much that trip was, you know, I can say. But yeah, maybe she'll share some of the things.
So, sisters, walking your queendom, and I compare to you. Every step of the way. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. So I'm so thankful that I had the opportunity to go on this trip. You know, when people say that you have a guardian angel, Brother Karim has always been an entrepreneur, and he knows that I'm an entrepreneur, so Brother Karim invested in me as an entrepreneur, because I used to work for him as a teenager driving his ice cream trucks. And then he opened up a business called Ocean Delight and all the rest. And my cousins that are sitting here used to run that restaurant. So Brother Karim definitely believes in the power of us being entrepreneurs. So I feel like that he invested in me as an entrepreneur, because like Ismael said, I started a company called Rebuilding Timbuktu. And my belief is that there is a Timbuktu all around the world, because Black people have created centers of learning no matter where we are on the globe. So Rebuilding Timbuktu is an extension of, first of all, the obsession that I have with Mali, the obsession that I have with Timbuktu, and all of the centers of learning that took place in the Malian Empire. So by training, I'm a social studies teacher. I've been teaching about Mali and Timbuktu since 2001 as a global history teacher. I've made plenty of documentaries. I made a documentary about the Maroons in Jamaica. So I went to a compound town because I was like, let me experience the Maroons in Jamaica. And so I had the same approach when it came to Mali. I just didn't know that I was going to be going this soon. So I'm very excited about it, Brother Queen. Thank you. Again and again and again. Vincent, yeah, I can do Vincent, thank you for opening up the door again and again and again. And Ibrahim, Ismael, thank you again and again and again for. He sent me so let me tell y'all where I was. He sent me a text message. I was sitting in a church in Washington, D.C. called Shiloh Baptist Church. The history of the church is that it's 163 years old. 22 formerly enslaved men and women founded this church. They were escorted by the Union Army from Fredericksburg, Virginia, and they started this church in Washington, D.C. So I went to that church because I'm a historian. I'm always learning about historical places. And it was Prince Hall Day. So the Prince Hall Masons were the first African-American Masons in the United States of America. And they were established in the 1790s. So I went to go celebrate Prince Hall Day with them. While I was sitting in that church, Ismael sent me a text, and he was like, Assalamu alaikum, Sister Zakiyyah, taking another trip to Timbuktu, because I was mad at him the first time, because I was like, don't you know I got a business? Go on, Rebuilding Timbuktu, you ain't tell me, blah, 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 blah. So this time around, he sent me that text, and he was like, if you want to go, there's an invitation for you to come, and you got you have a plane ticket waiting for you. When I tell you that I bust out crying inside of that church because it was the serendipity of the moment. Here I am thinking about our enslaved ancestors who created this church. I'm sitting in a sanctuary that's 100 years old, and I'm getting an invitation to explore yet another center of learning that I've been teaching all of these years. So it was divine intervention, and like Ismael said, it was a lot. It was true alignment. And when Allah wrote in the Quran that I created you in nations so that you can learn from one another, that is exactly what happened in Mali. I went over there as a Southern African-American woman, the granddaughter and great-granddaughter of sharecroppers. My great-grandparents, Maggie and Stacey Lampley, my grandma Mary Peoples. My mom and my aunt are sitting inside of this room. They are the daughters of those sharecropper people. Our great-great-grandfather, Boss Brooks, who was also a sharecropper but a landowner. We are African-American people who went across the Atlantic Ocean, and I made my way back inside of Mali. And I've been to other African countries, but the experience that I had in Mali felt like a DNA connection that was coming back to me. Because I didn't feel that in Ghana, I didn't feel it in Malawi, I didn't feel it in South Africa for sure, and I didn't feel it in Mozambique. So I know that the history of people from Mali goes back to before the institution of enslavement. So Mansa Musa's uncle came to the Americas with not one ship, with not two ships, but he came to the Americas with 2,000 ships because he knew that there was land across the Atlantic Ocean. And so when you hear Malcolm X in the 1960s say that African American people aren't just here in the United States, but African American people are also in the Americas, it's because he also has that knowledge of Abu Bakr, who was from Mali, who established African communities in the United States of America, in Central America, in Latin America, in all of these different parts of the Americas, North and South, as African people in the 1200s. So if we do our genealogy or we dig a little bit deeper, most of us, if not, I would say all of us, will probably have some connectivity to Mali. You know, and you can feel it when you're there. And just like y'all heard Djibril rattle off all of those West African countries that he's been to, all of that region was once known as the Sudan. And the word Sudan means black. So we're talking about a space that has been coveted and covered by black ingenuity, by black innovation, by black people with a spiritual compass, whether they were practicing animism, whether they were practicing Christianity, or whether they were practicing Islam like Mansa Musa, Khan Musa, who was a devout Muslim. So when you go to Mali, you are connecting and reconnecting to self. Not just going to explore some distant land that people told you, you know, that you're going as far as Timbuktu. You're going back to a space that affirms you. And I made a video on my Instagram page that it seemed like all of the buildings in Mali are screaming, I'm dope. You know, you go to a building, it was built in 900. I can't even fathom what 900 is like, but I know I can touch a building that has mud from the 900s. You know I can walk in some sand that Mansa Musa walked in the 1300s. I know I can go to a mosque that Mansa Musa built and orchestrated the building in the 1300s. I know I can touch manuscripts that a family was directed to keep the history of Mali, who are the descendants of Ahmed Baba. And I know that I can touch these manuscripts and open them up and see them in Arabic. And when they tell us as African American people that we have no literacy skills, that it was illegal to read and write, we know why it was illegal to read and write, because we were using this literacy to literally build civilizations, to literally build towns like Djenne, to build towns like Timbuktu, to write a constitution like the Commandant Constitution in Seby in 1236. So it is my wish, it is my prayer that everybody inside of this room has an opportunity to travel to Mali. So when y'all make salat, make a dua so that you can intentionally have an opportunity to go to Mali so that you can experience this reconnection for yourself. And for sisters, we talk about Mansa Musa, we talk about Sundiata Keita, we talk about all of these Malian kings, but almost every single site that we went to in Mali was started by a woman. So when we were in Djenne, the first woman to sacrifice herself in Djenne, her name was Tipama, a woman. She wasn't even a woman, she was a girl who sacrificed herself so that that town could establish itself. When we were driving down the road, we went past cities called Sikoso, and that's named after a woman. Timbuktu is named after a woman, Batu. So there's so much history related to the women and how women have elevated this design of this civilization that's still standing. So no matter where we go on the planet, women, we always have a place. Nobody can ever tell us that we have to take a back seat. And so when those brothers were catering to me, I let them do it. Because they know what's up. Bring me all the gifts, celebrate me, because we know that through us is paradise. It's in more ways than one. And that's why Allah is always generous with us, and that's why Allah is always telling us, and so we have to walk in our power and help brothers to understand that you cannot do it by yourself, because half of the earth's population is female.
You know something else that's very interesting, that it wasn't really stressed, but in my research on Mali, and what Ismael was talking about with the Constitution, Mali's Constitution was just 12 Doors of Mali was one of the first constitutions that had it like actively stress the rights of women in that constitution in the world. So that was something that was very interesting that I learned about. But,
So I'm finished, and I know if y'all have any questions, y'all can definitely ask questions. And I have some pictures that I will show you all, but it's all about reconnecting. So you are not a stranger when you go to the African continent. And just keep that in mind. Now, you're going to have different experiences in different African countries, but we have a right to go to all of these places. And you never have to feel like you are coming there in any deficit whatsoever. A lot of times people say to African American people, we don't have a culture. Or, I don't speak Bambara, I don't speak Moré, I don't speak any of these languages, but we speak English. We are the remix. And we speak the English with African American vernacular English in the way that we speak English. In the way that we learn how to put this language together because of all of these different cultures and ethnicities that came together. So we started speaking English the way we speak it. Yeah, we dropped those dangling participles. We don't always say, I am going. We might say, I'm going, because we fly like that. You know, all right? And we say, no, we say, I'm finna do this, I'm finna do that. And we say, what's up? We say all of those things, and people say that it makes us sound like that we're not intelligent. But we are the remix, and we are more than intelligent because we took all these languages and we put them together, and now McDonald's is using our language to sell their french fries. Da-da-da-da-da, I'm loving it. That's black English. That came from us. So we never have to walk in any spaces feeling like that somebody has something over us.
Just to reiterate what she was saying, Djibril, when people talk to him, they call him Djibril. When they talk to Ibrahim, they call him Brah, or Ibn. When he was talking about Mecca, he was talking about Mansa Musa, he said, yeah, he went to Mecca. He didn't say Mecca, right? It's interesting just that it's the commonality that we have from this side all the way over to there. And just listening to her, you see how much you can learn just being around her. She stopped, I think we stopped for a break because we were traveling for 8 hours. And she went into the field with some sisters that was out there working. By the way, she noted that sisters work far harder than the men. She's like, I don't know. I never see the men out here working. I only see these sisters. And they got something on their head, they got babies on their back, and they are doing like all the work, right? But she stopped and went and talked to some sisters out into in a cotton field.
In a cotton field.
Now, this is what I want to say about that is, I'm a person who I don't like the slave stigma that we have. So I would never go into a cotton field until she said go into a cotton field. And she said the stigma is on what they forced us to do, but we're doing this for clothing. We're doing this. This is not the thing that you should have a stigma about. I thought to myself, and I told her about a song that Nas said where he said, I'm pro-black, I never pick cotton out of aspirin bottle. Right? And I thought that made sense, but then when you think about it, they have caused us to demonize something that is a part of our history and culture. In the same way service is. We are supposed to be people of service to other people, but because slavery was made such a cruel and disgusting thing, we shudder sometimes at the idea of serving someone else. So that's the best thing you can do. That's in fact what Allah created us to do, is to serve other people. Right?
And Brother Karim, he actually got some of the cotton. He went and got a nice stalk out the field. And the other thing that was in abundance that we were craving for it because it's so hot that you just want to cool down. What y'all think I'm talking about? Watermelon. It was watermelons everywhere. You turned around and you look, and it was watermelons with the biggest seeds I was thinking about, like huge black. I think they took over the red part of the watermelon in most cases. But it was watermelon everywhere. People were selling watermelon. We know the history here in the United States of America that after the Civil War, our African-American ancestors, they were selling watermelon until white people demonized selling watermelon because it was a source of revenue. And now black people go into the office and be like, oh, I don't eat watermelon in front of white people. I say, I'm going to eat me some watermelon in front of anybody. And I'll cool myself down and enjoy this good rare fruit. For people that don't like watermelon, Kassogue, I feel sorry for you.
It's not my favorite, but I eat it because I know it's benefited it.
And it's nothing but water, so it's one of the best fruits to nourish your body. We know that it was a source of income for our ancestors so they could pay their bills and balance some land. And when we were in Mali, it definitely cooled us down because that sun can feel like it's sitting right on your face, you know, and it feel like you're so close to the sky, you know, when you're in Mali. But it's a great place.
Can we hear about the gold that Brother Karim?
That's right.
Well, it's like they were saying, like Masa Musa, you know, he was there, and how he, I guess, those gold mines there, it, you know, contribute to his wealth, you know, as being one of the richest black persons in the world. You know, we talk about Bill Gates and all the people here, they say riches in the world, but he was richer than they were. But yeah, we actually went out in the same gold mines that he dug some of the golds, and the way they did it there is like you see the whale holes, like you see a whale hole. That's where they go down in these holes, and the same way you see in the Western movies when they crank the water bucket out of the well.
So you cranking, did anything come up?
Well, they was out there. They was out there actually doing it when we was there.
There was people in the hole.
We got we got pictures.
They in the hole, right? And then, what do you think about when you're inside the hole? Do you think it's hot or cold down there? I thought it was hot, but it's cold in the ground. I never thought about it that way. So they're down there basically cool, but I mean, you know, they have a rope on them. Yes, bringing sand up, and then, you know, in the sand is gold dust and all that stuff inside.
And just like you see in the Western movie, the cowboy movies, where they actually had a pan, and as they rinsed the dirt out, they panned it for the gold. Actually, right there where we were.
And then the sand had gold, the sand had gold sparkles inside of it. But also the crank, because people are underground, you have to send water down to them. So you are bring the bag up, put the water inside of it, and send it back down in the hole, because somebody is going to work down there all night long. You know?
All night long.
There was a question. Somebody had
I could get you
We were hoping to get some.
We didn't see any nuggets. We saw like some gold dust, but however, they have like huge lands of rock, and they said in those rocks is gold, but they haven't broken them all down yet. They said that we could travel. Well, we went in maybe 35 minutes into the mine. They said we could travel another 5 hours. That's how large the land was of mining. And they said some of these holes that they showed us was where Mansa Musa got his gold from, however many hundreds of years ago. So it's so much land. And this is just one place that we went to. So, you know, it's a lot of opportunity.
And it's gold. You just have to, they need machinery. You know, so you know, with most communities, you always behind the curve if you don't have access to the equipment that's necessary. So with those rocks, you can see that it's gold inside of the rocks, but if you can't grind the rock down to the powder form, then you don't really have access to it, or it takes a longer time. So where some people who mine gold, like the Chinese and like the Germans and all of these other groups that have all of the equipment, it's faster for them to get to the gold because they have the equipment. But with this local community that's owned by the people, it's taking them a longer time because they need the proper equipment. And this is where we come in and providing the exposure and thinking about the ways that we can tell these stories so that our people who think about investing inside of the continent of Africa can actually say, well, you know what, let me talk to somebody who's a gold miner. Let me talk to somebody who is into construction, who has the machinery or wants to donate the machinery so that we can elevate together at the same time. So it's important.
And that's one of the things that I think was the most important, is the entrepreneur spirit that's out there. When we went there, women had their own businesses. It was nothing for us to go down the street and see like women with stalls selling fruit, which was wonderful because fruit was fresh and like good for you. It wasn't overly processed, the GMO was none of that. Even out in the gold mines, you see the men and the women working side by side. The crank, the women were cranking. I would have been 2 cranks in and done. I would have been 2 cranks in and done. But I think that is one of the biggest things. And when we look at our position here, you see the position there, and you take into consideration our history here collectively, not just your own personal life, but when you look at our successful communities who've been burned down, we got Tulsa, we got even communities here that they don't really talk about that existed where these military bases was at, but they went through them and destroyed them. You have an opportunity to go there. You can start a bank account. That was one of the first things we asked about. You can start a business. You can go there, start a business, and you don't have to worry about having it targeted because you're Muslim people. You don't have to worry about them being targeted and bombed because you're black. It's going to be there, and it's there for you to take care of. So I would highly suggest, if you are looking to be an entrepreneur, if you are looking for investments, that would be the best place. On top of the fact that, yes, we do face a lot of oppression here. That is not to take away that at all. But we are, by proxy, have access to resources that allow us to, like Ismael said, get that machinery. We know, oh, we can go here to get this machinery. We can go there to get this grant. We can go here to get the things we need and take it over there. And they're more than willing to work with us. I mean, even when we was in Djenne, did you get the name of that general lady that was up there? I thought it was the coolest thing because, you know, the military, you typically think military is just a male activity, but when we went in there, it was,
and we took a picture with all of the dignitaries that came out to meet us. So the first in command, the seconds in command, and women were a part of it. So we had several women who were responsible for women and what happens to women in Djenne. So they came out and they greeted us and stuff. So it was really good, and it was important. And like Vincent is saying, it's investment opportunities to happen inside of Mali. And the other thing about it is that we know that women, even here, when we think about women like Malcolm X's mom, and we think about how the UNIA, the Universal Negro Improvement Association, was able to galvanize and raise millions of dollars, and they had a chapter of the UNIA on every continent in the United States of America. There was women who were doing bake sales. They were hosting bake sales, making money so that the UNIA chapters could thrive, and you see that same thing happening in Mali. You see these women with a baby on their back and a baby on their hip, but they out there running a food stand, you know, and they are entrepreneurial, and they are keeping the country running. And the other thing to note about Mali is that it's extremely young. The population is super young, but most of the continent of Africa is super young. So you have so many people under the age of 40 because of epidemics and pandemics like HIV and AIDS, and because of other pandemics and epidemics that have killed out whole generations of people. But you still think, well, these young people, they're doing it because they're running the whole country. And they're running the country because they already had an example. And the example is coming from Abu Bakr. The example is coming from Ahmed Baba. The example is coming from Mansa Musa. The example is coming from Sundiata Keita. The example is coming from Baktu, Sisi Koso. All of these black women, they have examples, and they don't let the history falter and say, well, you know, we don't have no history. We ain't learn this stuff. So a part of it is teaching yourself. Going back and digging in the rafters, doing what the Quran says. Iqra, read, like Imam Ismael said in his Kufa. We have to read the history so that you can reconnect to the history, so that you can understand that anything and everything that you want to put your mind to is possible. Because we have living examples. That's possible.
I wanted to add this is you all, my community, I think they know that I'm always looking to improve our community. So as soon as I met with Ibrahim and Djibril, and they're telling me about this tourism thing, me and Vincent connected with them already on tourism. We went to the Minister of Culture, Minister of Tourism, to facilitate other African Americans to go to Mali, get the experience that we did, invest in the places that we are investing in. And when we talked to the Minister of Tourism, he said once you get the company established, you can do Umrah and Hajj. I almost fell out of my chair, you know this, right? Because I want everybody I know to go to Umrah or Hajj, right? So that's definitely in the works, definitely something that will be connected to New Africa Marketplace.
Inshallah, right? We have, not only can you buy garments from there, but we can also send you to Mali. We can also send you to Sierra Leone. That's why I wanted him to say all the places that he has expertise in. Because you don't have to go to Mali. I mean, Mali is rich for our history and culture, but if you want to go anywhere in Western Africa, we want to be able to facilitate that. And if you want to see some places where you want to invest in, because what we don't want, obviously, is people to go to exploit Africa. That's the reason why we're telling a community of believers. He is a Ethiopian Orthodox Christian. His community is mainly in Ethiopia, from Ethiopia, right? So they already have an understanding of Africa. Muslims, African American Muslims, have some reverence for Africa. So we don't just tell this information to everybody. We're not going to help everybody make it to Mali, because some people we don't want. Just to be honest with you, because I think they will exploit the place because they can. So we want to make sure that people that are like-minded, that are right-minded, if they want to go, you can go there, just learn, or you can go there and we can maybe possibly find some investments for you. And Imam, our community's been doing this for some time now. We went to the last business meeting. That's where they were connecting with Senegal in our community. So, and the Imam that was in Atlanta is doing the same thing, Imam Rashad. And Imam from DC, Imam Talib. All of them are already doing this. So this is just another avenue. It's just really, really Allah's plan, because I did not plan for any stuff to happen. It just happened. And doors are opening. We could not go through everything that we did there. I promise you we can. The pictures that she has will probably be able to do justice to every place that we went. And they were, as males, they were asking us to help invest in places. They were asking the sister about proposals for marriage. So I'm just telling you all, what you all want, you can have it in Africa.
Can I tell them this one thing? I gotta tell y'all this one thing. Now, it's funny. So here it is. I'm like, yo, I'm actually out here, Timbuktu. Like, I actually worked 10 years to be able to get to this place, right? And not only that, I can bring other African people with me to experience this. And not only that, I can bring a African American woman with me to experience this. Like, it's not something that I'm doing alone. And we get out there, we have a great time, and I was really happy because, like I said, this is a very notable mosque, but even the imam there, a very older gentleman, was very receptive to Zakiyyah being there. But this was the story that told it. So we get ready to get back on the airport. We're at the airport, right? We had been there the whole time. We had met the general of the state. We met the general of the state, we met the imam, we met the director of education. Like, we was meeting big, top-notch people. And we get to the airport to go back to Bamako, and the general of the state is dressed in all white. And I'm thinking he's about to come tell us all goodbye, you know what I'm saying? This man comes through, his whole entourage clears everybody out, sees me, and I'm thinking he's gonna say, oh, you know, thank you for coming, come back soon. He comes up to me, he's like, where's that?
Took a selfie with her and nobody else.
Nobody else.
Nobody else. That's exactly what happened.
And it's so crazy because I was walking to the plane and they had to call me back to come from the plane.
I got one more story. Since that was told, before we went to the Mali embassy, right? Remember this? So we was at a table similar to this. And the ambassador for Mali in DC, we're taking the picture, right? And I stand beside him. He's like, no, Zakiyyah, you stand there. He made me go stand somewhere else. So I'm just saying it was really a great experience, and I was very glad that she was able to experience that and be treated the way she did. Everywhere we went, you know, people were treating us with kindness, and they loved that we were there. Even the guards that were guarding us, they took pictures with. First, we weren't supposed to take pictures of the police. So when you see a picture of somebody with a rifle, that means they said it's okay to do. They loved us too. You know, like they loved. Also, right?
So I asked them, I said, look, come over here and take a selfie with me. One of the things about traveling and connecting with people is showing up as your authentic self.
You know, because you are there to experience the culture, but you also are there to bring a part of yourself to the culture so that y'all can connect with one another. You know.
I'm so glad you said what you said, Brother Ma'am, about, you know, putting that business together. Because I'm sitting here thinking, you know, how do we put together a trip to take young folk, right? My granddaughter, through high school, is going on the high school trips, and she's going to London, and she's going to Paris, and it's costing $5,000 that we gotta put together, right? Why can't I send her there?
You can.
Why are we not have those types of trips introduced into the educational system in different schools for those who want to go? Why my baby gotta go to Paris? It's nice, it's wonderful, and it's gonna be a great experience, but why is that experience not on the table as well?
Well, inshallah, it will be, because we're gonna work on it, we're gonna make it happen. You put it in the universe, you name it, you claim it, and you put it in the universe, and we had the experience. We've been there before, so it's just a matter of us being intentional and making it happen.
Actually,
sitting there and planning it.
Ismael and I are actually working on that. There's a thing called Sister Cities that the United States government came out with, and as it stands right now, Norfolk's only sister city in Africa is in Ghana, but Ismael and I have been working to create a sister city between Djenne and Norfolk, and in that sister city they have exchange programs where children from there can come here, but then children from here can go there as well. So that's actually going to require a lot of support. So
right, that was a petition I put out. I'm going to send that out just so everybody is aware of it, and that we can add more attention to it now, so more people will be maybe interested in at least signing it or sending it to other people. One other thing I wanted to mention, since you were talking about going to Paris or going to Europe, is when I went to get my yellow fever shot, I had to get a yellow fever shot to go there last year. I told the travel agent I was going to Timbuktu, and she snickered a little bit. She laughed. I mean, she's a travel agent and didn't believe it was a real place at first. That's what I'm saying. Wow. Like, there are tons of people. Because we are in the know, and I'm telling you, I'm in a bubble all the time, so I think everyone knows what I know. And then I go out of this bubble and find out people have no idea. Talk to somebody, ask them about going to Timbuktu. Everybody I talk to have no idea what I'm talking about. They think it's not a real place. Some people don't know who Mansa Musa is, right? I think everybody knows Mansa Musa, because everybody I know, I'm in contact with, knows Mansa Musa, but a ton of people do not. So we're going to try our best to change that with everybody that we know and come in contact with.
Yeah, I did, because it seemed like language was no barrier. I've been to different places, like in Africa, and their second tongue might be Portuguese or French, but their second tongue is English, I guess, I'm supposing, because it seemed like y'all had no problem communicating.
No, their second tongue, so the first is Bambara, the second one is French. And I told them, because I'm going to go back, we're going back, I'm going to learn Bambara. I'm not learning French. I refuse to. I already know one European language, I'm not learning the second one. I just won't. So I'm going to learn Bambara. One place that he did mention about was Gambia. Gambia was, and I think Ghana also was colonized by the British, so they speak English. Right. Most people didn't know who we were talking about. Ibrahim and Djibril had to translate it, even to the many of people that we met. And by the way, we went to Timbuktu also, I just remember this, the Minister of Education, she brought, her brother Karim brought books and school supplies for the kids, and they loved them. It was like the greatest. That's what I mean. Like I didn't think of this stuff. They thought of all this stuff to bring, and we went to one class of kids who had blindness, another class of kids who couldn't hear. But all of the kids were out. It was a day it was Sunday, wasn't it? They were supposed to not be in school. They gathered together, and the teachers and everybody came out. And the Minister of Education also proposes Zakiyyah. I'm telling you, she got like 5 or 6 different proposals. I'm just saying. So, but it was a great time. And the kids, man, we went to Segou. It was the first Segou. They grabbed Brother Kareem's hand immediately. So we just walking, and I'm like, I look back and he has 2 kids walking with him. I'm like, who are these kids? And then all the kids surrounded him, and then they start grabbing everybody else's. I had a picture of 2 of them, like holding my hand, just walking. So we went to a castle that was of a king there previously. But that's what I'm saying. The history is so rich. I can never exhaust everything we did. I would have to go by every picture she had and then explain each detail because it was so much. And that Djibril can explain every single thing and every single thing in these different places. The man is some kind of a genius, to be honest with you. May not have done him justice today, but he knows everything about Mali and Western Africa.
And so language would have been an obstacle for us, but had we not had Djibril and Ibrahim, we would have been lost. I mean, so I could get by on my limited French understanding, you know, listening to and picking up on context clues, and English, but they were the ones who made the trip what it was, because they were the people in the middle. And they were the perfect middlemen to have because they understood what we were asking, they understood how to articulate the nuances so that we could get the answers that we were looking for, and so that people could understand exactly what we were saying. So it matters who's on your trip and who's touring you and taking you around. It matters what tourism group you use, you know, what organization you use, who you patronize, how they're going to be patient with you, and how they have access. I don't think nobody has access like Djibril. He took us to, and I'm serious, he took us to a blacksmithing community that most people don't even know exists. And just watching Djibril walk into the community, telling us that you have to pay a community tax. You know, you go into a community, you're extrapolating information from them. So it has to be worth something to you. You know, not just to learn it and see it with your eyes, but also help the community to keep going. So we had to pay taxes to them, but also learning how to scrape these gourds so that they can make them these decorative objects that wealthy people use in their weddings. You know, but this is a small blacksmithing community that has passed down the art of blacksmithing through generation after generation after generation. So there's this continuity and this continuum of culture, but it's also giving us access only because of the tourism company that we use, Djibril and Ibrahim. They the best.
We wouldn't have been able to go to the gold mine without him.
Yeah.
We went to another place where they get the sand from the Niger River and they build all the houses and all the buildings and everything there, right? He just has contacts in these different places, so we can go there. I was actually recording. I don't know if y'all was on Facebook. I recorded live, and then somebody was like, "Turn that off!" Right? I turned it off. Deleted everything. I was scared. I thought they would come take my phone. Right? He was just in there working, shoveling sand, and he was like, "I don't want to be recorded," because we weren't supposed to. It wasn't a place where tourists go, but just Ibrahim knows everybody at every different place, and we're able to go there. Like we shouldn't have been in a gold mine. He just knows the people, and they allowed us to come there. Like we can't just. We couldn't do it on our own.
No.
Oh, and then that's one thing I'm going to add that I thought was the most important. Well, I subconsciously realized that I appreciated the most was, like, they have different complexions of blackness, too. Like, you're not going to just get there and just see plain dark-skinned people. They definitely have light-skinned people my complexion, people Ismael's complexion, people's same complexion as Brother Karim and Zakiyyah. So it's not like, oh, I'm going to get out there and it'll be the lightest thing out there. No, it's definitely light skin, dark skin, us. We're there.
They did not know I was from America until I started talking. Even though there are people that are much darker than I was, and there are some people that was lighter than I was. So if you know some words, they ain't going to know anything. Like the first time we went there, we was on the bus, and they told us don't talk at all, because we were sneaking to get in Djenne. Because as soon as we started talking, that's when people are like, oh, this is the Americans in. They, you know, they know it. Then they probably try to sell us some cookies or something. Everything.
But yes. For the blackness of the country, you know, that was, you know, kind of real, one of a lifetime kind of things. Is going somewhere when you don't even see. You can count the black people. Me and him on your hand, you know. So when I think it's cooked about that, he was like 95% of the country, but you don't. When you're there, you don't see that 5% of the people. You see one. So you somewhere where it's all black people, and predominantly everybody's Muslim. You know, that's they every day is just, you know, just another day. You know. It's not like, you know, Friday we come here for Juma and we dress up like Muslims and
just like Muslims. Yeah, exactly.
But every day they just going about their thing, you know. Every day is just one day is just another day. So
and
we get that.
And I see your hand, Kassogue. I'm gonna get you right now, but just to say this about what Brother Karim just said. there is a blessing in seeing and being encapsulated with your own people, because there's a subconscious thing that happens where, you know, and I think it's because of us living in the United States of America, where we feel like that our proximity to whiteness has always had to be there. But one thing that we do know is that through the Nation of Islam, and we have to give credit to the Nation of Islam, that they created a nation. And in that nation, it was people who looked like us. And they looked like us because when Sister Karim Muhammad was establishing a nation with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and carrying a nation and making sure that it was able to keep going, when Elijah Muhammad and all those other brothers were imprisoned in 1942 for the draft, for dodging the draft, what they were saying to us is that you have to be around yourself. You have to be around yourself to affirm yourself. You have to be around yourself to love yourself. You have to be around yourself so that you don't have doubt created in your mind about who you are. We're talking about Southern black people from Georgia in 1930 saying, we want to build a world where we can be amongst each other. Not because we necessarily want to separate, but because we know that we want to take a dose of our own medicine and being around ourselves and look at our beauty, see the reflection of who we are, admire us, and look and affirm ourselves and say, we can do this. We can start this nation. We can start these businesses. We can work together. We can build this nation together, and we don't have to be dependent on anybody else and thinking that their glass of water is colder than what we can produce on ourselves. And I think that that's really important. So when we think about ourselves as Muslim people, especially coming through a Imam W.D. Muhammad community and knowing that our roots are within the Nation of Islam through Sister Karim Muhammad and Elijah Muhammad, we have to say that what they were doing here is exactly what Mali is doing. We want to be around ourselves. Frederick Douglass said it in history when they asked him all of these questions. Well, Frederick Douglass, what do you want us to do with black people? What do y'all want from us and what do y'all need? Frederick Douglass was simple. Do nothing. We got this. We got ourselves. And that's what he said. Don't bother us. Leave us alone. We can do it on our own. And we've been saying that forever. Mansa Musa was saying it. Abu Bakr was saying it. Frederick Douglass, the most photographed person of the 19th century in the United States of America, a black man, said, leave us alone. We got this. And so there's nothing wrong. There's no deficit in us being together. There's no deficit in us not having white children inside of our schools. There's no deficit in our children going to all black institutions. I am an HBCU graduate to the white meat. I love being around myself. And there's nothing wrong with being around self. We have to learn to affirm each other in different ways and stop thinking that somebody else's water is colder, somebody else's ice is colder. Be with self. And that way you learn to love yourself a lot more. Copper. You had a question?
Yeah, I did have a question for everybody, but as everybody keeps talking about this stuff and expounding upon these ideas, it's very, you cannot get the intensity of the point that they're trying to prove from just this session here. That's somebody's heaven. We talk about, so the Samawat is the heavens, the Djenne, we asked for Allah to give us the highest station in Djenne. The Djenne is gardens. Have you ever gone to somebody's garden? Of course, there's some diversity in the garden, but have you ever seen a garden where there's a tomato and beside it is a carrot and beside it is an apple tree or whatever? No, the things that come together, the things that you want plenty of, they come together in a section of that garden. So in these gardens, why can we not be those carrots? It's an expanse of those carrots, and then next to them we have the other things that are in the garden. That's not to take away from the benefit of other people. It's to say we should be around ourselves, and then we should exchange, because that's why we were created with these differences, so we could exchange. You go outside of this country and you see the gradients of the colors of people. I went to Hawaii. I spent 5 years in Hawaii, and just going out there, my biggest takeaway was that I want my people to experience that temperature, that climate, and the hospitality of the people out there. Those people are not black people. I'm not trying to say that. I'm trying to say that when I went there, there was a certain type of hospitality and a certain way that people dealt with me as a black man that they did not deal with white people with. These are Hawaiian people. Okay, think about going further away from the country and getting closer to where we came from. These people want you there.
and they want you to succeed, and we want them to succeed, inshallah. Okay, so now my question was that I wanted for each of you, this is not to box anybody into any box or anything like that, but each of you have, experiences that you've gone through in life, and each of you have things that you are great at. From those perspectives, can you talk about things that you think that those people in Mali could benefit from most?
You said that something that we have that people from Mali could benefit from the most?
Yeah, whether it's our Muslim community or resources available in the greater country community, things that we could give to them in exchange for, like you said, Zakiyyah, there has to be some type of value for what they have. What can we provide? What do you see from your particular places that you see benefit, that you have benefited from and that you provide a resource from?
Well, when I went to Mali the first time and the second time, I felt that, and I said this to one of the tour guides there, is that they have hospitality, they have religiosity, they have family and community, they eat together, they live together, they eat with their hands together. What they lack is finances. We have finances, we don't have togetherness. So if we can use our finances and invest there, that's what we can give them. And they know that. Everyone is telling us about the black dollar in America and how much power that it has. Like, it's Black Friday right there. Alhamdulillah, I'm glad you all are here. But our dollar goes a long way. We spend a lot on looking nice, right? Me and Brother Karim, we bought a couple of suits to look nice, and he brought a couple more. But we spend on ourselves. But if we invest in Africa, that's what I think the best thing we can do for them and for ourselves, because we can see ourselves outside of the Western influence. So they have Western influence because they were colonized, but it's not as much as we have. I think we have this idea of individualism in America, and it comes from Western society, and they do not. They have a sense of community and being together and loyal to each other and family and marriage. They think about this stuff all the time. It's expected for you to be married, and I think we are starting to lose that. So I think that's what we can gain from them. We can invest. We have the dollars, and our dollars go a longer way in Mali than they do in America, right? So if you have $10,000 invested in America, you go to Mali, you can get some land. You might be able to build a house all these days with the amount of money that you have here. So that's why they want us to invest so much. It's because they know once we do it, somebody else who looks like us will do it. So that's what I think we can benefit them from, and then they can benefit us from just the culture.
You know how people say when they try to get you to do something, they say your ancestors died for you to vote. Your ancestors died for you to go this place. Your ancestors died for you to do that. No, I think your ancestors died for you, for your breath to be able to, for you to take in breath and to push it out. And while there's this idea that African Americans don't have a culture or have a subculture or something that's not strong. One of the last days we were there, it might have been the last day. What day did we go see Mopti, brother? It was the last day. Yeah, it was the last day, and I got hit spiritually. You know, we may be a people without a nation per se, and our history may be full of trauma, but it's also full of perseverance, a way that inspires people that you don't even realize it. And we was there for 2 weeks, and we literally traveled the whole country. It's probably 2 cities that we didn't go to, and we did it in the truck. And we was meeting people and tired. We was just done. I was done. I don't know about them. I was taking a nap every time I could get a chance. But we was going to meet with the imam from Timbuktu's brother. And we got stuck in traffic, and I was just like, oh my goodness, I just want a bed. I want my bed in my toilet. And I don't know what happened. I dozed off, but I came back, and it must have came back at the nick of time. Because when I opened my eyes and I looked up at the side of the building, guess whose face was looking back at me? In Mali, the furthest you could be from Western society, Martin Luther King. And they had painted a mural of someone who is significant to us on the side of a building, and I think they named the street after him. And it hit me at that moment that even if I don't have, I can't say that I come from this particular tribe or this particular nation, that my existence in itself is an inspiration for black children all around the world. So who I am, I don't need to take shame in. I can hold my head up high because who we are and who we've established ourselves with the lack of, is an inspiration to black people all around this world. And I think you should, when people try to talk down on African Americans, don't believe it. It's a trick of the devil. I say time, you hold your head up when you walk out here, because somewhere in this world you've given inspiration to a black child to keep going. You've given inspiration to a nation to stick up for themselves, to understand I'm not subpar to any other race. Who we are is enough. And when you go to this place and you go up and you look up and you see somebody that you directly come from, that's directly a product of your culture in another African nation, you hold yourself to a better, a higher esteem. So that was my little testimony.
little testimony. What I saw over there and is things they can learn from us, and we can take from the idea that when you go over there, you can see how they are living almost like in a capsule, time capsule, when they live in pretty much the way they've been living for ages, back. So the infrastructure over there, they can learn from, the United States or other countries as far as the infrastructure over there is, is kind of real life, and so they can learn from us when they come down to doing something better for the sewage and garbage and stuff like that, because they don't have that much concern with that, and that's as a country, you can imagine New York City when the time, when the garbage people go on the garbage strike or places like that. It's no different there. It's a big, that's part of a big concern health-wise, and like I said, if some come about it, they, learning from some, I don't know if they dislike keeping it the way it is, but the infrastructure, could stand a lot of work. Mm-hmm.
I just want to say real quick that I was laughing because you can give it to Zakiyyah. They were Ibrahim on more than one occasion threw trash on the ground and was sneaking and throwing it on the ground because Zakiyyah kept busting them out. it's really no places. There's not a lot of trash cans. So he threw a bottle on the ground and he threw something on the ground that we had. Like I think it was one of those ginger. Yeah. And he was getting in trouble every time he did it.
So, one of the things that I feel that I can, well, it's two things that I feel that I can contribute well to Mali. One of it is my background as an educator. When we went to City Mahmoud and we were in the school with all of those children, y'all probably, if you follow me on Instagram, you probably saw my reel. And I mean, they pulled my hijab off, y'all. They pulled me down on the ground. And I was like, wait a minute, you get here, you get there. And it was very refreshing to go into a school and be around all of these young children, and it was so excited, and you knew that what we bought for them in terms of school supplies, they're going to appreciate it. Students here in the United States of America appreciate it, and the fact that these students was like, "Oh, you bringing me something?" I knew they were going to appreciate it as well. So we took them school supplies, but it was one thing that happened when Brother Karim and I, we were walking back to St. Croix University to the Imam's house. Some girls were walking with us, and they kept on saying, take a picture of me. They kept doing their hands like this and like, and want me to take a picture. So I was like, all right, I took a picture. They walked over to Brother Karim. They wanted to take a picture with Brother Karim. But then there was one boy who had been at that school early that morning, he was walking in the opposite direction and walking back into the direction of the school. He was the only child that walked up to me in his English and he said, "Thank you." And I said, "I gotta take a picture with you," because I knew the rest of the students were thankful, but the fact that he actually looked me in my eyeballs and said, "Thank you," it meant the world to me. And so I think that that's a gift that I bring, being able to connect with young people and being able to bring my pedagogical skills, because I like teaching. I love education. I love helping other people, and I have the patience to do it, because meeting people at different educational levels, it takes a lot of patience, and since we've been back, I've been on my WhatsApp, sharing my screen at 6 o'clock in the morning, doing on Monday and Tuesday and Thursday, I do 3 sessions from 6 to 7, Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday, and I'm teaching English. So I've created all of these documents for people. I connected with a lot of people on WhatsApp. So Papa, he was like, "I want to learn English like you." I was like, "Well, then you got to get on my WhatsApp with me at 6 o'clock in the morning. Ibrahim, I want to learn English. Omar, I want to learn English." All of these people telling me that they want to learn. What you say?
Who's Omar? Uncle.
No, not.
Who's Omar?
Oh, Uncle too. Omar is one of the police that was escorting me. Okay.
Another proposal?
The police that had their rifle in the picture, and you see me standing beside him holding up a peace sign, and he's smiling with the rifle. But Omar, they on my WhatsApp in the morning from 6 to 7, Monday, Tuesday, and Friday. Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday, and I've decided that I will spend some time, invest this time, and teach them for an hour, share my screen, send them the link to all of the documents that I created on Canva. But now I'm thinking to myself, okay, I'm doing it for free for y'all for right now, but it's about to be the Married People's Academy of Learning in Timbuktu, because I can't be giving away all of this stuff for free, but this is your introduction, to reinforce what they've been learning through pronouns and all of this stuff. Mom and Auntie.
These two seniors here. What is pedagogical?
Pedagogical skills. So pedagogy is the art and the science of teaching. So most people think that you just stand in front of a chalkboard and you write something on the chalkboard and you say, okay, learn. But teaching and learning happens through a specific set of strategies. So that's called pedagogy. So a lot of us learn how to recite the Quran through repetition. And because the way that the Quran was written, it has a rhyme scheme to it. So the melody and the rhyme scheme is what helps you to retain what you're learning. Even if you don't understand what the Arabic words are saying, you retain the melody so you can repeat it back. So that's what happens in education. A lot of us learn how to read through phonics, teeth and tongue, the TH, the CR words, all of these phonetic sounds connect us to how we learn. Making word associations. We inside of the masjid, making word associations with other places that might look like a musala. So that's the art and science of teaching.
Let me say one thing real quick. You see what she was doing? She used that big word, right? She was doing that with Ibrahim and Djibril. They had to translate it. And Yusuf, his head almost exploded. She was saying such big words, and he did not know the word, so he could translate it. I said, please just talk like regular people so he can translate it for everyone. That man, you can see that. You can see his mind like, what word do I use for this?
At one point in time, he just stopped.
Yeah,
and you looked at me like,
use a word that I understand. Right? I understand English, but not that word.
They joked each other the whole time we was there. They joked each other the whole time we was there. It was a good time.
We had a good time. So, thank y'all for sitting in and listening to the beer.
We still want to see the pictures.
Yeah, I'm gonna open it.
So my question is about food. Can y'all talk about the food in general?
That's Zakiyyah.
And then more specifically, can you talk about the food and similarities that you saw to our food and our culture?
That goat was good.
Zakiyyah, what was the thing that you was about to go crazy over?
With the
egg
and sauce.
Oh,
Segou.
the egg and the bread and that sauce. They make the fried, we love a fried egg, an egg is an egg, but the way they seasoned that fried egg, y'all, and I know it was probably just Maggie, but it was the butter, I don't know what it was, but it was delicious, and I wanted me the egg and the bread every single morning, and then they gave us this tea that we would drink in the morning that everybody drinks during Ramadan because it's a good detoxing tea, but it just tastes good. Ismael can share some with y'all because I shared plenty of bags.
Of tea, yeah. So they also had this ball that was, remember that it was like fish, but inside of it was a mystery, but it was an egg inside. So and it was delicious. I'd never seen anything like it before ever.
So they stuffed they wrapped a boiled egg with fish around it and cooked. It was delicious. And then so we had stews and we had a lot of rice. But we also had another one of their grains called it wasn't couscous, but it was like couscous. The meat was super fresh because you just knew that when you saw a goat walking down the street, that goat eventually was going to be on your table. Or the cattle, it was going to be on your table. So it's a lot of meat and it's a lot of fresh meat. A lot of fresh fish, you know, because the Niger River is there, so you have a lot of fishermen. We did drink a lot of water, a lot of bottled water. They liked drinking like pineapple juices and hibiscus.
No, the hibiscus with ginger together.
Oh, they love tea, the bee sap that we get inside of the Senegalese. They love drinking that.
They fed us 3 times a day, right?
Brother
and Brother Karim was like, listen, this is way too much. He did it like 1 or 2 days, and then like, I never eat this much. He stopped eating it. And what happened though is it's like hospitality. Everybody said, well, why are you not eating? So they thought they was concerned about him not eating. He's like, I never eat this much ever.
And then he was playing it up because Brother Karim raising his hand like the king. He was like, it's too early for me. I don't eat that much. And doing that, they was like, why don't the old man eat?
So they brought him like salad and stuff like every time we ate
vegetables.
Vegetables.
That was their thing, vegetables. And they would bring them a big plate of food, and you know everybody is eating with their hand and stuff. So that's the culture. So if you squeamish and you don't want to eat in a big pot, whatever, which makes sense because you only have to wash one dish after it's over. But everybody was eating out of the same pot, and you do get full. Believe it or not, most people think that you're not gonna have enough because everybody is digging in the same pot, but you get full because everybody is mindful, and it's a community thing, you know, because you're not gonna eat without the other person. Even though for me, it was a little bit much because we were on the road and these brothers would go to the bathroom on the side of the road, not even having no hand sanitizer. So I'm like, no, give me a little bowl. Spoon on the side. Y'all can eat out the bowl together and I get the bowl on the side.
So there's a few things to that. Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso had made it kind of illegal for GMOs. Like genetically modified food, so a lot of the food there had seeds in it. It was like the fruit you was eating was the fruit God made straight up out the ground. There was no chemical anything, so the fruit definitely tasted great. That thing when they say about how animals die and they hold that trauma in them, I can actually say that it's very true because the food, the meat that you have here, versus like Zakiyyah said, they free roam. The goats do what they want to do, the chickens do what they want to do, even the cows do what they want to do. But because they live a natural life, they're not constrained to a factory or in a pen. When you see them pick that chicken up like that, and they get that chicken ready. When you eat it, it's delicious. It's delicious. One thing that I thought was particularly interesting was their peanut stew. So the reason why I thought that was interesting is because back in the day, remember, we in Suffolk, peanuts was a very big industry, and we consumed a lot of peanuts. And over there, peanuts is like an actual specialty. They'll make a stew out of it, put it on that goat I was telling y'all about. A1. And I was like, oh, that's a nice little connection that we might have. I wonder if that is where we got it from, coming from there to here. So the food was definitely healthier. It was definitely healthier. It was cooked in a better way. It was cooked fresh. I think that's the biggest thing. Like you could taste, they just picked this tomato or they just killed this goat and cooked it. So
I got a hamburger. That was good. That was delicious. The first time I went there and asked for a hamburger, I got a steak burger, and I'm like, all right, okay. This time I actually got a hamburger. I split it up. Which one? The steak burger. The first was the hamburger. Yeah. So yeah, I split it up and gave it to everybody. I just wanted to taste what it tasted like.
It's a lot of bread. I mean, so if you watching carbs, and you on a diet, Mali is not the place to diet because your meal is gonna come with bread, it's gonna come with rice, you're gonna have some peanut stew, and we know peanuts are very high in fat. And you can have a tomato sauce, but it is delicious. But I think the sun, being in that heat, is gonna evaporate all of that fat that you eat, because you're gonna be so hot, and you're gonna walk a lot, you know, and drink a lot of water. But you do consume a lot of bread, and that bread is delicious. And me and bread, we have a, it's the devil. We have a relationship, but it's the devil. But it's good. And they were eating a lot of candy and stuff, a lot of ginger. They were loving that. I don't think we ate too many sweets. They ate candy all day. But it was good, and I think that the people treated us well, they fed us well, and you know, they say that when you prepare food, you're supposed to prepare it with love. Every bite, every morsel that we ate tastes like that they were preparing the food just for us because they loved us so much. And they wanted our meal to be the best meal that we had, whether it was for breakfast, lunch, or dinner. And that's what made it special. Onions, just like Senegalese food, they put a lot of onions inside of their food, which I love. But I know time is running near, so I'm just going to close out on my part and say that I'm thankful that y'all. Oh, Rashida, you got a question?
I want to know, when do you all anticipate going back? Because I would love to go. I've been to Africa a few times. But as Vincent, what's your name?
Yes, ma'am.
As you said, I think it does make a difference which country you go to. Because I went to a country where I stood out too much. And I didn't like that attention. But I've also been to a country where I've blended in, and you can tell me differently from the people who were actually from the country. So it does make a difference if you go to a country where everybody's shade is recognized, because you feel like you're part of everybody there. So when are we going back? Because my passport is ready to win.
I said I wanted to go back soon, but I was worried since somebody was supposed to have been, I think Nabil was supposed to come with Zakiyyah. And I've heard that the group of y'all together is going to be very hard. The brothers. All right, so.
It's gonna be hard.
So,
well, Brother Karim said, well, wait a minute, y'all guys are here. Wait till you get Rashida and Fareed.
Well, we like to a lot of international traveling, and it's fun. We all want to explore and learn at the same time. Some of us have different likes than others. Some of us like 5-star, have glass showers. Some of us don't. Some of us like to be, in the mix with all of the people who actually live there. So it's still a good experience for everybody.
I'm glad you said that, because I think that's something also that we need to stress, right? The people here had some understanding of the culture, and you always hear about culture shock, right? I've been to Mecca and Medina, so I didn't have any issue with a hole in the ground to use the bathroom, right? I didn't have any issue with, I knew it was going to be some mosquitoes, even though this time was much better for us than it was previously. Like I said, the last time we went to hotels that were kind of like makeshift, because we had our itinerary had changed totally. In Timbuktu, there are lizards all over the place, right? And I was telling my wife about this. Just if you're squeamish, you gotta overcome your squeamishness in order to do this, to experience it to the fullest. They have 5-star hotels, but we did not stay in 5-star hotels. We stayed in a nice enough hotel. It had air conditioning, but also the power goes out sometimes, so they have to have generators to start it back up. So I want to make sure that we're upfront about it. We're not really romanticizing it, because everything we love about it, we love about it. But if you need all of the amenities, you have to prepare for that and pay for that. It's going to cost you more money to go to a 5-star hotel. You can do that. You can go to a 5-star hotel. We were in a truck together, and we were all cramped in the truck together. We were not perfectly fine with it, but fine with it.
We enjoyed it.
Right.
I feel like it made the trip better.
It was more authentic.
We were in
right.
one vehicle,
right?
So that we could discuss what we were seeing together. We just could enjoy being together inside of the truck, so we could hear everything at one time. But sisters, it is a great opportunity to go for you as a sister. But if, like Ismael said, if you are a squeamish person, first of all, you're not going to be able to stop and go to a bathroom at every corner, you know, like you would be able to do here.
In other words, not any truck stops.
Yeah, it's not truck stops. You know, so for sisters, you got to consider those types of things. The roads are bad. Let's just be honest, some of the roads are terrible. You know, so you're going to be hitting a pothole every 3 feet. And
African massage.
Right, the joke is that this is the African massage, so you will be dealing with that, but just carry you some wet wipes and carry you some hand sanitizer. Don't share with the brothers that don't bring their own hand sanitizer because before you know it, your stuff will be used up and you won't have any more of it, Ismael. But just, I think you could do it. Wearing a hijab every day is not going to make you feel like you were in a prison or any way, form, or fashion because you're Muslim. But if you want to take your hijab off like I did a couple of times because of my head just needed air, then you can do it. You know, so you don't have to feel like that you are in any way, form, or fashion in a place that's so super conservative that you have to stay garbed all up. And the only thing that can show your eyes, because that's not the case. But it is, let me just say this last thing. It is convenient though. You see this dress, you can slip it over your head and be out the door. Put your sneakers on your feet and be comfortable all day long. You know, well, I did put on some jeans one day and I put on a bogalon like this. This is what Brother Chris, and they said I look like a rapper. They was like, what is she, a rapper? Because I put on some jeans and a shirt and this bogalon. And they called me a rapper. So throwing on a dress every day and you be out the house, I was dressed every morning before all of them.
This is what I did want to add though. She was mentioning dressing conservatively. Our tour guides and a couple of other people did recommend in Djenne and in Timbuktu to dress conservatively.
Yes.
Because there are more conservative places and there are more religiosity in both of those places. So, because I think Zakiyyah may have asked about wearing pants. And they were saying maybe in those places make sure you have something to wear that's conservative. But in Bamako, in the capital, where it's, I don't know how many millions of people there, I mean you can dress how you like.
And if you're going to a mosque, obviously, do you have something to cover your hair? You know, you always walk with a scarf, you know, to go in and mix the light, go to hijab and places like that. But women is very friendly to women. So you don't have to feel like you got to walk 10 paces behind a brother. You don't feel like you don't have a voice. And I think that was one of the things that I also added to the trip, is being able to demonstrate my ability to say, I'm in the room too, you know, by asking questions, by not sitting back and listening to something that I know is going crazy and feeling like that I don't have a voice to be able to interject and say, well, wait a minute, hold up. Let me ask this question, yada, yada, yada. So you don't feel confined and you don't feel restricted. And if you do feel confined and feel restricted, then maybe Mali is the place that's going to give you your voice. You know, because you see how the women really work hard, but the women are also the backbone of the community. The women are teaching the children. The women are preparing the food. The women are embedded inside of the history. So as a woman, you don't have to feel like you're second class, because you're not.
There's two places that I would say if you was going for the tourism experience, it would be Seby and Timbuktu. Seby is closer to the tropical part because Mali is a very huge country. So Seby is more closer to the tropical part. Green is always blooming. It's always summer there. We went there and it was so beautiful. And then because there's so many trees, it could be hot overall, but as soon as you get up on a tree, you get the breeze that's getting caught up underneath it. That part is like the Mandinka part of the country. So think of where they say Kunta Kinte came from. So you're gonna really go into Seby and you're gonna be in a garden. Timbuktu is, I thought Timbuktu was like a more romantic place because you have buildings there from like the 13th century. You know how people like to go to England and all these other places and they go see the beautiful buildings and whatnot. Timbuktu is actually gorgeous.
It's gorgeous.
And even still, like, yes, they said dress more conservative, but I think they have an idea that we're not necessarily from there. Even with my church, which is full of Ethiopians, most African people, like I said, even going back to Martin Luther King thing, they understand that we wasn't exactly raised in that same kind of culture. So I think they have a bit of a bit of a understanding that certain cultural norms is not going to always equal up. So one example I can think of that I didn't understand it, but apparently there was something, is when we was up there with the email, and Zakiyyah had this one dress on, and her leg popped out, and Ismael almost had a heart attack, but Ismael was more mad than Ismael was, so it was just like, I don't think they really necessarily...
And my dress was to the floor, it was scraping the floor, y'all, but it just had like one of those little slits in it at the bottom. And he told me that something's wrong with my dad.
Man, I was there enjoying it, laughing the whole time. But nevertheless, I think they definitely understand it, and they if you was going for that tourism experience, I would say those two are the two areas I would really suggest y'all going to. But as far as like what Brother Green was saying with the infrastructure, there is a situation where there is certain things that we have that we're used to and that we know about. For instance, sanitation, they haven't quite developed it as strongly there. So massive cities that wasn't really developed by Malians more so than by the French and the colonialization have an issue with the sanitation. But when you go to these other places, it's not like that at all. Like Seby was beautiful. Seby was gorgeous. I wish I could. Zakiyyah, can I send you a picture real quick so you can show them? I'm gonna send them a picture of Seby that I captured, and then a picture of Timbuktu. And they have festivals there. I definitely, with our tourism company, we're gonna do it for tourism. You can go there, take your pictures, relax in the sunlight, get that good tan, taste the food. But then we're gonna also do like business investment tourism, where if you wanna start a business there, we can go there, help you set up that business and go from there. So.
I know one thing I asked the kid was about land, because my husband is from Ghana, and one thing about Ghana is somebody can sell you land, but a family member can always come back and take it from you and say, I need to prove for them to sell you that land, and you can't do anything about it. It kind of passes down through the line. And I asked her about land there, could you just buy land there, and it is actually owned by you, and do they allow it? Some countries don't allow people from outside their country to purchase land. That's one thing I was interested in knowing as well.
Well, you can purchase land. They do tell you where you can purchase the land, so you can go to Segou, and you can purchase land in Segou. You can build a house on it in Segou. So you go through the same process that you would here with a deed. From the way they explained it to us, it didn't sound as volatile as the way that they told it to us in Ghana. Because we know that in Ghana, they selling the cemetery. So they were selling on parts of the cemetery and building on top of the cemetery. Mali has a lot of desert land. So it depends on where you're actually living. They have a lot of open space. So it wouldn't have the same characteristics as the land in Ghana, where it's so tightly packed, where you have people on top of you. Some spaces, but I'm talking about like where we were. But in Mali, it's a lot of open space. So they made it seem like the land was easy to purchase, and buying houses was easy.
We were talking to government officials, and they said it was no issue with if the land was available, you could purchase it and it would be yours. Nobody could come and take it from you. In almost every city we went to, even in Timbuktu, Yusuf was asking me about some land there. He asked me just in a private message about it. Everywhere we went, I don't think there was any place we went to where we were not able to get to have land there. In Segou, the place that we're trying to build the sister cities with, there were ample land for us to build and farm. It's tons and tons and tons of opportunity, and the government officials, they were not just the regular citizens, the government officials were telling us, we want you to invest in this. We want you to invest in this. We were talking about when we were kidnapped, we was in Timbuktu. The last day, we went to, what's the brother's name that's in charge of Timbuktu? Salah. His family took us to this place, and we went upstairs, and it was just a presentation for us to be invested in another like opportunity that they have. They knew the Americans were there, so they was like, we're gonna pitch everything to them, everywhere we went. He was like, you can invest in, you can do this, and you can do that. They want us to, certainly.
And then like with Ghana is it's still a big country, but it's a smaller country compared to like Mali.
So this is great, right? Sharing all this information, right? So what's step 2? Because I keep hearing invest, invest, invest. So there has to be a step 2 of here are 5 opportunities that's available. How do we move forward with that? When's that needed?
Well, I think, I can speak for me. I think that Ismael and Vincent went over to Mali where they already had their own program or their own projects that they're working on separate and apart. For me, it was about introduction and exposure. And so I'm thinking about ways, because my mind is always working, and I've already, written out so many different proposals and things and pitch. I will pitch an idea. All you can tell me is no once, right? If you can tell me no, you can also tell me yes. So for me, it's more about understanding exactly where I can fit in. And I like to take my time, and I don't like to build a plane while I'm flying the plane. So now it's just me looking around and saying that this was the inventory that I took, and these are the spaces that I can fit in. So inshallah, I want to be back in Mali in February. So, and I've also reached out to like different schools already. I've written to the dignitaries and the people that gave me their emails. I wrote them just to say, I had a great time in Mali. I'm thankful that I was able to come. I'm actually trying to finagle my way back there in December to go to the Timbuktu festival. And the guy that you just mentioned, Salah, I'm like, look, I want to come back. You want to host me? And all they can do is say no. So I want to get as much exposure as possible when it comes down to the materials that I use, because I make digital learning materials. So that's what's next for me.
Right. So, but getting back to that community thing, that collective bargaining that some folk who are here might want to be involved in. Everybody doesn't have a program. I have a business. I have an LLC, right? I have a nonprofit as well, but I'm not looking at it per se from that perspective right now. You are absolutely in a great position to do that. But if it's dollars and cents, if it's 5 people giving $500 or whatever it is, what way can a collective do something? Because we might not be able to go, but we might want to be able to fund somebody to go or something to happen.
So I'm not gonna lie to you, it's been a learning process. Like I said, this was my 3rd time going. Each time I had a wonderful time, and it took like some gumption for me, because I had to just walk into the ambassador's office and kind of feel my way through this process. And they're not going to be hard on you. You can go there, you can start a bank account there. Go to government documents and you can start a bank account there. It's actually harder here to do stuff here in America than it is to do it over there. Once we figure out, Ismael and I figure out how the actual business process is going, we buy our first piece of land, and we're going to bring that information back. The people, Ibrahim and Djibril, who was already there that you met, they are definitely familiar with the processes. They know who the people to speak to. Ismael and I were meeting the people who we need to speak to. And then as far as the actual investment, it's going to be a matter of 2 things: either research on your own, or actually you might need to go out there, because the country is definitely diverse. You're going to go from a desert to a tropical forest. So if you want to go out there and start farming, you want to go there and say, okay, I like this city, I like this town, I like this village. I can see if I need to come back here and do some management for my farm, I wouldn't mind staying here because I mesh with this culture. Or if I wanted to open a school, which they definitely need those, you can go there and say, okay, I like this village, I like these people. I don't mind if I need to come out here and stay for a month or 2, staying here, and integrating with the people. But they're not going to make it hard for you at all. They're not going to make it hard. Like I said, they definitely know you. I'm not gonna say they know your story, but they know the story of African Americans, and they would prefer you invest in somebody from maybe say like France or maybe another place.
So I'm gonna keep you posted, definitely. You know, we yeah, all right, we're gonna get this. Get this thing
And
together.
like I said, my second step, making a move in something like that, if it's centered around business or if it happen to be education, is like with Zakiyyah, you know, way back when she was in high school, and now Mopti Muhammad asked school-age kids in the Nation of Islam to write an essay, and she, you know, got to travel with Imam way back then. So it's like, you know, you when you say you invest in something and, you know, you reap later on, you know, it's like farming, you know, you sow seeds, but you might not reap later on. So she can get access to things in that line now, you know. And even I think she's been over in Oprah school, you know. I don't know how long she was over there with Oprah, you know, the school that Oprah opened, but she you know, she can explain, you know, some of those things a little bit more. But yeah, it's like I say, you invest and so now you know reap the benefits of later on.
And they will make it, you will meet, like if you say I'm going over there to invest, so like let's take the sanitation thing, right? We over here, that was the job they gave us, the job that other people didn't want to do. We had to do it, and because we had to do it, we understood the processes. For us, we can get a trash truck, have it shipped there, and set up that sanitation that they need. But if you go to this ambassador and you say, hey, I want to set up this sanitation company there. You go through the city and pick up the trash or whatever. They will make sure you will meet everybody in the chain of command there. We went to Djenne, we met the mayor, we met the governor, we met the general of the state. Who didn't we meet?
That's what I'm saying. Except for the president. I really think we met almost everybody except the president. And we had already said the first time we went there, we were going to meet the president at some point. Just the work that we plan on doing, it's going to be kind of difficult to not meet him. If our plans come to fruition like we pretend, we expect to, especially now when it deals with education as well and the sister cities. It seems like it's a huge undertaking, but it's much, much easier than I anticipated. I'm sorry, Ismael. Go ahead. No, I was just gonna say they're rolling out the red carpet for us to do it. I mean, they're making it practically easy for us to do it. It really is easier than I anticipated. It's harder to get this building built right here than what we're doing in Mali, and I'm not joking.
And I just wanted to add that when you have opportunities like this, I think that you have to strike while the iron is hot, you know, while the momentum is still there. So for me, looking at this community, because Ismael is already the conduit that you have, this masjid is a 501c3, right? Comment. Okay, so that would be one of the first things that the masjid would need to do. Establish a 501c3 and then come up with a earmarked funds that y'all are contributing, writing some grants. You have an excellent grant writer. I'm not going to put it on to be a shoulder, but I'm sure somebody else inside of the community who knows how to write grants, or you can consult with Nabia, and then when y'all go after these grants, if she takes the time to write the grant, and she can get 5% of what the grant is actually giving y'all. So it's putting money in her pocket, but it's also creating a stream where you all can apply for grants through the community, and y'all can take that money and it goes inside of a Mali fund as a 501c3. And when y'all create a Mali fund and you turn around and you say, okay, these are the initiatives that we're going to work on for 2025, 2026 through the Mali fund. And maybe y'all might earmark in the Mali fund for 2025, 2026 that we only work on educational endeavors. So maybe you pick 2, maybe you might pick 3. So you might do 1 educational event each quarter, but you have the money that the community is already investing in through a 501c3 so that y'all can say, this is what's next in this community. So, because Ismael and Vincent, they already have their own personal entrepreneurial things that they're doing, but if we want the work that we did in Mali to be an extension of Masjid William Salam, the first thing is to get the 501c3 established so that you can then be eligible for all types of grant monies, grant funding, things that you can write off, but also so that you can be of service. And we know 501c3 organizations are designed to serve other people. And if that's a place that you have an area of expertise, maybe you might want to create a committee. Maybe you might want to say, well, these are the things that I'm thinking about for Mali Fund because I know how to give money. I know how to write a check. I know how to do all of these other types of things. But everybody in the community, y'all can't just, or we can't just listen to a conversation about what happened. It has to be all hands on deck. And it has to be, and when I say all hands on deck, everybody's not going to work in the same capacity, but you have to be a contributor in some way, form, or fashion to what happens with the community. So whether you want to do a donation, Giving Tuesday, and every Tuesday y'all work with some benefactors in the city, some corporate donors, and they match whatever the community is giving, that's y'all first amount of money going inside of the Mali Fund. You know, so it's a lot of different ways that the community can donate and work with Mali in the name of Masjid William Salam from Norfolk, Virginia on West 35th Street. But you first got to get that 501c3. You have a nonprofit, so you know what a 501c3 entails. Get that board together. Who's going to sit on the board? You definitely need a lawyer. You definitely need an accountant. You need some community members that's going to sit on that board. You need a vision. You need a mission statement. You need some goals. You need all of these things.
You need to be at our last meeting.
And
right?
Yeah, we need her and Nabia to come back to Norfolk, Virginia. That's what we need. Yeah.
I'm not gonna fade you. This is the time period that we live in now. Is probably best to make sure you all your eggs ain't in one basket. And I think that's been really not by any fault of our own, a failure of the African American community. It's just that we haven't had any other place where our wealth could go and be safe. And again, we get those situations like Tulsa, Oklahoma. We actually have the opportunity to be like, okay, I got my wealth here in America, but just in case.
Exactly.
Yes, in case.
And the Masjid William Salam could buy a building. You can buy a building, an apartment building with multiple units, and then those, because people are traveling to Mali all the time, but that money is coming back to the community because people are renting out those spaces. You know.
I really hope you get the opportunity to go, because I can say it, but it would take you to go over there and be like, oh, I can do that. Right. That's my opportunity. Like I said, women are very independent over there. Actually, in my research,
and doing the work. Doing the work.
In my research, historically, that's kind of what happened. Where like the men would be the farmers that go out there and pick the farm, and then the women would go to the market and would be the ones that sell. So it's not unfamiliar for you to be an independent person and go over there and be successful. I really, really hope you get a chance to go.
So you won't understand when you were planning on planning another trip.
The way my pocket's set up.
The
way my pocket's set up.
But at the second one, what if other people want to go? Is it just something you want? Is it open to the community to go in February?
Well, it hasn't been planned, but I'm sure through the Masjid, if it's a Masjid project, then y'all will have to go through Ismael, Saleem. But if it's an individual project through anybody that's sitting up here on the stage, we could arrange it because we had a connection with Ibrahim and Djibril. They already have a tourism company.
Well, go ahead. I would say we'll give you like a two month notice because there is like a slight process where you gotta get your yellow fever shots. And I know people feel kind of funny about vaccines, but you don't want yellow fever. I promise you that. So you gotta get your yellow fever shot, and then the visa. And because it was us, they actually sped their visa process up. So
yeah, I walked in on a Friday and walked out on a Friday with my visa. We know that never happens, right? But because it was us and the rapport and the relationship, I got my visa in the same day.
It sounds like there are some people here that want to go. Yeah. There's quite a few people who would like to go on a trip like this. It's a trip of a lifetime. I know it takes time to organize something of that size, especially if you have multiple people.
Just be prepared to get proposed to at least twice.
Your husband's gonna be with us, so you should be fine.
Anyway, let me say, anyway, constantly gave back to tomorrow.
Game tomorrow?
Game night. Don't you have a game night?
Yes. Yeah, it's my sister. Yeah, I didn't know they was here. I just thought it was the bathroom.
They say they about ready to go there.
Right. Yeah, Jasmine, I didn't tell nobody. My sister's here.
So she's ready to come back tomorrow.
What is today?
Friday. The day of Juma.
Okay. I guess, yes. Yes, if everybody want to come, that's fine. I'm fine with it. Yeah, we have been talking for a long time, and I know people are tired and it's hot now.
Yeah, it's almost 4 o'clock.
Yeah. Alhamdulillah, I did not know that the conversation would go this long, but I'm glad it did. I'm glad there's interest. What I did want to say is that when I went to the ambassador previously, he had already won. And I told him I was going to go to Timbuktu, so they made me get a form from the imam from Segou University, and it was stamped by UNESCO. I went through a long, drawn-out process, but once we went there and came back, he and I, the ambassador of Mali in DC, put us on his website that we were investing in Mali, so they realized the validity of what we were doing or the potential of it, and they just let out a red carpet for us. So when we asked about them too, they were like, of course, they made it easy for them as well. If they went by themselves, it wouldn't have been as easy as what I'm trying to say. Because it wasn't easy for me. When he bought his ticket, I didn't buy my ticket yet because I knew I didn't know for sure whether I was going to be able to make it. Because I told them what I was going for. They were like, are you a researcher or something? So I had to get some information proving that I was. And then once they realized that we were really there legitimately to help Mali, they made it easier. So if you all want to go, if you want to talk to Djibril and Ibrahim about going, independent from us, because I don't know for sure when I'll be able to go back. I want to go back relatively soon, but I can't tell you exactly when that will be. If we give you at least a stamp of approval that we know you all, it should be easier.
So the way that it's happening, it's like a chain, right. You know. So every person gets the chain on them, and then you can pull somebody else along. Right. So that's what's happening.
So they actually have it as well. Yeah.
So we have a chain on us.
Maryland, so it would probably be easier because she, like I said, the ambassador of Mali kind of likes Zakiyyah too, so he might let you get in.
I ain't asked him. I didn't ask him a question.
I'm glad you said that. Let me say this also. Let me say this. The men in Mali have multiple wives, so if they made a proposal, not necessarily saying you're the only wife, you might be the second or third one. Okay. So yeah, but they'll propose to you like quick, but that doesn't mean that you're not the only.
I mean, the director, the educational director, he said, well, you know, I have a wife and 2 children in Bamako, but I'm a single man in Timbuktu. You get my second wife. I mean, I don't take it any kind of way.
He's straight up.
Well, it's more accepted because they lead them with marriage. They're not leading with you being my girlfriend or being my side piece. And you also say it's cultural, you know? So, yeah.
And I could be wrong, but ain't y'all supposed to get like the same thing that the first person is supposed to get the same thing?
Oh, yeah.
It's time to do it. We're going into another subject. All right,
thank y'all for listening to us.
I didn't know I just went to the bathroom when I saw she was like, I was trying to tell her,